Hey everybody, this is Christy Furio with Keys to the Shop. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Welcome to another Shift Break episode. And today I want to touch on something that is really key for your communication in the cafe. Communication we can always work on, of course, is a common weak point in a lot of cafes. And this is going to be one of those things that you need to adopt in order to actually communicate effectively. And by effectively, I mean you get people to do what you say or know what you say. So if it's information, they can retain it. If it's, direction, they will follow that direction. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is duplication. And what I mean by that is you've got to have lots of different places where this information is available. You've got to not only say it to people in digital form, whether that's email or a Slack group or your scheduling software, where everybody has sort of a place where they communicate. That's fine. You should do that. And you should train people to look into those messages on a regular basis. But you also need to communicate face-to-face with each barista who is required to follow whatever it is you're communicating. If it's a price change, recipe change, policy change, it doesn't matter. You need to have FaceTime with people. You could do that in a meeting with everyone, or you could do it individually as you walk around the cafe or as you work with people, whatever works for you. And you need to also have these things available on paper somewhere in the cafe. There needs to be a binder that has updated information. We talked about this in the Barista Manual episode. One of those things that you need to keep curating over time as you add new bits of information and new items to your menu and programs to your cafe. That particular binder could be the source where you expect people to go for reference. So you've got face-to-face, you've got digital, you've got analog on paper. Now you're duplicating the same message in many different formats so that people understand what it is that's happening in lots of different places. So you give them every opportunity to see and read and understand what it is that is expected of them in the cafe. So the next thing hits a nerve, I think, with a lot of people, and that is to repeat yourself. It is, I think, common amongst any kind of leadership to feel a little bit awkward about repeating yourself, almost as if you're treating your staff like children. And you don't want to treat them like children. You feel like you're being annoying by having to repeat yourself. And there are ways to do this without sounding annoying, without treating people like children. And I think the trick here is think of it less like repeating yourself and more like just reinforcing the message so that it becomes a part of the fabric and culture of the shop, which makes it easier for everyone to do and do consistently. That happens through repetition. We talked about duplication, so that's part of it. The information is available. But repeating yourself is all about basically launching a campaign and making it a theme of yours that when something is going on that's a change or a needed communication in the cafe, people can expect that when you're around, you are going to talk about it. This is one of those principles that Bruce Tulgan talks about in the great book, It's Okay to Be the Boss, is that you've got to talk about work at work. And as a manager, it's especially important that whatever it is that's at the topmost of your priority list, in this case, a communication that you've just put out there, it needs to be sort of the thing you talk about. And not only do you talk about it, but you coach people and help them adopt it. So if they have questions, you want to be not only available to answer those questions, but you need to be able to pull those questions from people. You can do this in email as well, following up and making sure that everybody knows that this is not something that they can just expect to hear once and it will go away. After a while, people will get that this is really important, and they need to really make room in their mind for adopting this new practice. That doesn't necessarily happen when they just hear something once. They say that if the people can finish the sentence for you, then you know you're repeating yourself enough. You are talking about work at work, And repeating yourself doesn't have to be something that you avoid. It's something that's actually pretty necessary for effective communication, especially in an environment where things tend to get lost in the midst of all of the noise in the cafe, all the things that happen from left field, as well as the host of other information that needs to be retained in the barista's mind. Having new information enter into the scene is greatly, greatly helped by duplication and repetition. So I hope this was helpful for you. Go and adopt these practices into your communication in your cafe. Do it with grace and with a servant leadership posture, please. This is not, you're not trying to be like a school teacher for people, and this is not meant to be something where you are just beating people over the head with this information. Come alongside people, coach them, be on their side, make this fun, and make it thorough. So thanks very much for joining me, and I will see you here again next week for another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.